Watch Business Edition as we talk to business leaders and experts in sectors that are transforming Tanzania's economy.
To be rich, I have to be a business person.
It's not an easy road at all.
People need to understand.
You must quickly think, how cost effective are you going to be?
Business acts as a way in which it can bridge that gap.
Business Edition will keep you informed on latest developments in the financial sector, extractive industry, tourism, agriculture, energy, construction, and so much more. Meet entrepreneurs who create employment opportunities. Watch Business Edition on Friday at 8:15 p.m.
Judicial stakeholders have been urged to fulfill their responsibilities. And in international, President Tshisekedi of DRC hold talks with President Kenyatta. And in sports, Serengeti boys to begin friendly games. Good evening, this is Capital News at 9:30. My name is Khadija Zimbwe. First, the national news. President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Dr. John Pombe Magufuli, has said that there are some officials from the judicial sector who are not ethical and have been involved in acts which deny people their rights. President Magufuli made the remarks at the climax of Law Week celebrations in Dar es Salaam, with this year's theme calling for provision of rights on time.
Na kwa ndugu zangu wapelelezi, kapelelezeni haraka.
To those in charge of investigation, please do so with efficiency when evidence is clearly there. What exactly are you going to investigate? Say a suspect has been caught stealing and evidence is within his person, yet you feel the need to investigate. What is it that you want to look for? Whether he was kneeling while committing the crime. When you go to court, you'll be telling the magistrates that the investigation is going on while intentionally delaying the process. Magistrates and judges end up getting blamed, yet you are delaying the process, while all along the person responsible for the delay doesn't get mentioned. So I ask you, investigators, to look into this, but also to lawyers. Every case has two sides. The lawyer defending the suspect and the lawyer defending the opposite side. Sometimes there is collusion. They carry out discussions at night and discuss on how the case should go, choosing to omit sections that could put the side.
Kama inaendelea kufanya maboresho katika tovuti.
The court is carrying on improvements to the website, registration and vetting of agents. This is in preparation of the e-judiciary and e-justice. This will be a success if we work closely with all stakeholders. The need to take judicial service to most regions in the country has increased the number of human resource needed. There is a need for 24,642 people. 6,096 staff are currently available.
Bunge na wananchi wote, serikali.
The House of Parliament loves and respects you for the task that God has given you. It is not an easy one. We shall keep praying for you so you can carry out your duties with diligence. It is a huge responsibility to be the one making decisions for others. As a House of Parliament, we shall do our best not to interfere with the judiciary system.
Tutaendelea kujitahidi kuhakikisha kwamba hatukatizi mstari.
29 people have been arrested allegedly for murders of 7 children in Njombe region, whereby those who have been arrested are not political or religious leaders or business people. The report was provided by the Minister of Home Affairs, Honorable Kangi Lugola, who called on citizens not to spread false information on the issue through social media, as legal measures will be taken against those who do so.
We'll make sure that those responsible are brought to justice. Without caring what positions they hold in the community, I would like to assure members of Parliament and all citizens that as we brought to an end other similar hideous crimes, we'll make sure that those responsible will be made accountable. The Commission is faced with the challenge of the law not clearly being understood by the mining community and business owners, which makes it difficult in paying of taxes.
Construction of 6 buildings for Siha District Hospital has been suspended by the Kilimanjaro Regional Commissioner, Dr. Anna Mugwira, due to use of poor quality building materials. Dr. Anna Mugwira made the move after visiting the site.
To the engineer in charge of bricks, work stops with immediate effect until quality can't be approved by TANROAD, and once that is done, then the foundation will either be demolished. It is clear that you've disregarded the assignment given to you. The entire exercise must now stop until expert opinion is sought. I ask experts to carry out their duties with diligence. Everyone should be responsible for his own work. This project cannot be stagnated. It must carry on.
The police force in Mwanza region has killed 3 people alleged to have been robbers in Nyakabungo Street in Mwanza region during an attempted robbery incident on shops in the street. Mwanza Deputy Police Commander Assistant Police Commissioner Advera Bulimba said immediately after the robbers came aware of the presence of police in the area, they began shooting at the police, who in turn returned the fire exchange, which led to the killing of 3 robbers.
To all the youths engaging in crime, I would like to call upon them to leave crime as it is not safe for them. I'm giving this advice because, as you can see, we now have many youths who cooperate a lot with the police. As for the police itself, I must remind you all that, as recent events have proven, we currently have a police force which responds to incidences of crime quickly and effectively. As a final comment, I was asleep, and when I was woken up by the piercing sound of gunfire, I felt afraid immediately because I wondered what on earth was going on. I reckon that I woke up at around 6 a.m. and once I had heard the gunshots, I felt very alarmed. Now, since I have blood pressure, people who know me ask me about how I was able to deal health-wise with the sudden and scary sounds of gunfire. I myself do not fully know the answer to that question, except to say that I feel that God Himself saved me.
Residents from Utalingolo ward in Njombe district have taken measures aimed at protecting their children in their communities by identifying newcomers in the neighborhoods, as well as reporting suspicious people to their leaders. The residents have decided to take the initiative following incidents of murder and kidnapping of children in the district.
We are condemning such acts which have robbed as parents' peace. This is a terrible act. It is important for parents to drop and pick their children from school and must sign every time.
3 people stealing electricity have been arrested following a night inspection operation carried out by officers from Tanzania Electricity Supply Company TANESCO in collaboration with the police force in Arusha region. TANESCO security officer in Arusha, Dominic Nare, said despite the loss incurred by TANESCO caused by stealing of electricity, it was also a safety threat because the act can cause fire incidents.
Is this your line? Did I ask you to come, or would you rather allow us to keep holding your accomplice? They look for an area where there is wiring passing near trees and connect very thin wires to the ground. What they've done is not safe. Children play here and most people are not aware of what is going on.
Now, High Court of Tanzania Bukoba Zone has begun hearing of the murder case involving Kibeta primary school teacher in Bukoba Municipal, Rispias Patrick, who is accused of killing a standard 5 pupil after accusing the deceased of stealing a handbag belonging to a teacher named Aliet Gerard, who is also implicated in the murder case. The case has drawn a lot of attention from residents who turned up at the court as the accused appeared at the court under tight security to hear their case in front of Judge Lamek Michael Mlachi.
This case involves the murder of a student committed by 2 teachers. I will be having 25 witnesses on the prosecution side and 2 on the defense side. But also there is another murder case involving. They are asking them for money and in return advising them not to go to lawyers. I would like to ask the general public not to be convinced. As we've been successful in dealing with other crimes, so we shall be successful in making sure that those responsible in taking matters into their own hands are brought to justice.
Dr. Menad Kalemani, the Minister of Energy, retaliated that he will not hesitate to take legal measures against Tanzania Electricity Supply Company managers and contractors who will fail to connect customers with electricity on the pretext of shortage of materials because the government has already set a sufficient budget for Tanzanians to be provided with electricity. He made the remarks at a village in Chato District Gator region while launching the 3rd phase of the Rural Energy Agency project.
To engineers and TANESCO managers, I've heard that you are not accepting applications, citing a lack of poles as the reason and that there is not enough wiring and transformers. You're not allowed to reject applications. You must connect the well to the water system. So in March and April, water is made available to most parts in the village.
Lengo la wakala wa nishati vijijini imedhamiria kufikisha.
We are intended to supply electricity to all areas, particularly those related to provision of social amenities like schools, hospitals, police stations, and water well.
And that is the end of national news. International news follows next. Welcome back, and in international news. 14 days after the President of Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, Felix Tshisekedi, took office, he has met President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya and held talks at State House in Nairobi, Kenya. Tshisekedi arrived in Nairobi around 12 noon, coming from Angola, where he began his tours as the President of DRC. Have blamed the government for failing to resolve recurring land conflicts in the area. They've urged leaders in Uganda to address the matter immediately in order to restore peace and harmony.
We want the government of Uganda to listen.
We want the government of Uganda to listen to us. As we speak right now, There is an outbreak of measles. Women and children are dying. There is no treatment. Those infected have been put in camps. Yet the government is using force against those demonstrators.
President Donald Trump on Tuesday night gave his second State of the Union address 1 week after he originally was invited to deliver it but did not because of the longest ever government shutdown. Here we have Peter Dahl, a correspondent from Deutsche Welle, all the way from Berlin, Germany, taking us through the highlights of President Trump's State on the Union address.
Coming up next year, it may be second last. As you mentioned, he has been deeply divisive, and this particular address was kind of low on bold new visions and policy proposals, but it was very high on soaring rhetoric. During his speech, Trump boasted about the U.S. economy. He called it the envy of the world. Trump also repeated his calls for Congress to give him funding for a wall along the Mexican border, and he called the situation there an urgent national crisis. Now, Trump's first 2 years in office have been nothing if not boisterous. But in many ways, his speech last night was, as you mentioned, much more measured than usual. Why is that? Well, that's because Republicans are no longer in complete control. The Democrats run the House of Representatives now, and that means that Trump needs to win them over if he wants to get anything done. Rhetorically, that new reality appears to have sunk in. He called on Republicans and Democrats to govern not as two parties, but as one nation. Now, in terms of policies, though, Trump offered very little to almost nothing that will, convince Democrats to come around.
Okay, now, so far, how have the European leaders reacted to his speech?
Well, the State of the Union, and this is important to keep in mind, the State of the Union is first and foremost meant to fire up the home crowd. It's not a speech that's, usually heavy on foreign policy. This time was a little bit better seen from an international perspective here in Europe. For instance, Trump has been blasting member states of NATO, threatening to pull out of that military alliance because he says member nations simply aren't paying their fair share. Several nations have, because of that pressure, committed to paying more, and Trump recognized as much in his speech. That means he's unlikely to follow through on his threat, at least for now. So a small sigh of relief here in Europe on that front. Another thing that many European leaders were watching for was, what is he going to do in the Middle East, where Europe also has troops in places like Syria and Afghanistan. This is something that, Trump has proposed to pull out, and that is something European leaders really strongly oppose. The good thing was that Trump did not offer any clear timeline, so a hope here in Europe may be that they have a bit extra time to convince him otherwise.
All right, now Trump has promised to new funding to end the HIV epidemic. What can you tell us about this move?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Trump said he wants to eradicate the HIV epidemic in the U.S. within the next 10 years. Yes. He called on Congress to commit to that goal, although he was very short on specifics. Now, there are close to 40,000 new cases of HIV infections in the U.S. every year. That is a steep drop compared to, for instance, in the 90s and the early 2000s, but it does continue to be a problem, and so pledging to tackle that problem was one of the few points in Trump's speech that earned him bipartisan applause.
All right, so how is this address significant to Germany?
Well, the U.S. has traditionally, historically been a very, very close ally of Germany. But like I said, this is not an address that usually gets in on specifics on foreign policy. I think what Germans are looking for is to see if Trump is going to maybe tone down the rhetoric of the past couple of years, reach out across the border and across the pond, frankly, to Germany at a time when his hands will be a bit more tied at home because of the divided government that he's now facing. So will that mean that he will look to Europe, to maybe Germany, and be a bit more measured in his approach and in his rhetoric? I think that is definitely the hope going forward.
And that is the end of international news tonight. Business news follows shortly after the break. We'll be right back.
Watch Business Edition as we talk to business leaders and experts in sectors that are transforming Tanzania's economy.
To be rich, I have to be a business person.
It's not an easy road at all.
People need to understand. You must quickly think how cost-effective are you going to be.
Business acts as a way in which it can bridge that gap.
Business Edition will keep you informed on latest developments in the financial sector, extractive industry, tourism, agriculture, energy, construction, and so much more. Meet entrepreneurs who create employment opportunities. Watch Business Edition on Friday at 8:15 p.m.
Welcome back, and in business news. The Bank of Tanzania has launched a campaign to educate Tanzanians on financial awareness and services offered by BOT throughout the country.
Kushirikiana taarifa za mikopo kunachangia katika
Sharing of information on lending could foster discipline on borrowing, as people will be careful not to borrow without having a proper plan, but also to stay away from borrowing large sums. This information will help to identify risk factors when giving out loans, but also to do a close follow-up on borrowers.
You have one free opportunity to actually take and test your credit history. This is like your medical checkup, and it's for free. And one of my objectives, if we believe this room, is that each one of us, all of us in this room, would go down and take that one free credit history from either Dun & Bradstreet or from Credit Info.
The Minister of Investment from the Prime Minister's office, Honorable Angela Kairuki, has said that investors from Germany have shown interest in investing in establishment of electrical tools factories and motor vehicle garage, as well as entering into joint ventures with Tanzanians.
In the energy sector, in the airport security and safety areas, but also in the electric and gas heaters for home appliances, and many other service sectors. And we believe that we'll facilitate you whenever you come in a very shortest time possible for you to come invest in Tanzania, but also to increase the FDI flows in Tanzania. As you understand through our World Investment Report for 2018, Tanzania has been one of the leading countries actually to promote but also to have the FDIs in the Eastern African countries, with almost 1.18 billion US dollars, followed by Kenya, and the third one was Uganda.
Bosch is a leading company in its sectors within Germany and also worldwide, as it was explained. And I think, as Mr. Rashke said, there's a lot of opportunities here that need to be looked at more closely. We need the support from the Tanzanian side on this one, and we have had the support from TIC in the past, so we count on this in the future as well. And I think there's a lot to be elaborated here, and with a win-win situation for both of us.
Coca-Cola Kwanza Company has begun a campaign of purchasing plastic bottles in different parts of the country for the purpose of recycling the bottles and conserve environment.
Our aim is to make sure that our beaches, on our beaches, it's only the sand that remains. You know, we shouldn't have any plastic waste or any kind of waste on our beaches, because we understand that the beaches is a place where, you know, people go for entertainment, where people go for their leisure time. But on top of that, we want to educate the community, our society, and we want to encourage people, you know, to protect the environment, to stop from polluting the environment.
In fact, we should have promoted this beach tourism as a fully fledged standalone product. Tanzania has been known with a little bit skewed sense in terms of, in the sense that people will only think that if you come to Tanzania, the only thing to see are the animals, wildlife, or the only thing to see are other aspects of natural resources, including forests and all that. But again, the beach is there. And it makes a very strong product, as I said, because especially in the big cities, the beaches are accessible, are known, they can be traced, and then we think that we should leverage on these, key variables and parameters to really promote, tourism in our beaches.
And that is the end of business news. Sports news follows next after the break.
Hi, my name is Kotaro Tokuda.
What's up? My name is Céline Garnier.
I'm John Barnes from Liverpool Football Club. The hip, hop, a hippie, the hip, hip, hop. You don't stop the rocking to the bang, bang boogie. Say up, jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. Now what you hear?
I'm watching Sports Gazette.
I'm watching Sport Gazette.
And you're watching Sports Gazette.
With Sebastian.
With Sebastian. Peace out.
Yes! And you can also watch Sports Gazette for highlights and interviews regarding sports. Do not miss Sports Gazette every Wednesday at 7 p.m. only on Capital Television.
Welcome back, and in sports news. Serengeti boys are scheduled to start their friendly games before heading to Turkey for the last camp as they prepare for this year's AFCON Under-17 Championships.
Nje ya Tanzania, tulikuwa tunategemea wachezaji wawili.
We were expecting 2 players from outside, but so far only one has arrived, who is Ben. He's already at the camp. The other player's academy is checking whether allowing the player to live for such a long time will have a negative impact to them, so he's not here yet. When they confirm to allow him, he will be here.
Dar es Salaam boxers have been invited to participate in the Amateur Regional Championship scheduled to start on 25th of February, with both clubs and individual boxers allowed to participate.
Atakapokuwa bingwa kwa huo uzito,
the one who will be the winner of a certain weight category will be the champion, who will represent Dar es Salaam in the national championships, which will take place right here in Dar es Salaam, as organized by the National Boxing Federation. I believe Dar es Salaam has the best boxers.
Kwa na uhakika kabisa mashindano haya yatashirikisha mabondia ambao wana viwango vizuri.
Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola believes the season's Premier League title race won't be decided until the last fixture or two.
Successive draws against Leicester and West Ham mean leaders Liverpool will be overtaken by City on goal difference if they win at Everton on Wednesday. Third place Tottenham are only 5 points off top spot and still have both teams above them left to play. City host Leicester and are at Brighton in their last 2 league games, with Liverpool's last 2 fixtures seeing them travel to Newcastle before playing Wolves at Anfield on 12th of May, the final day of the league season. Tottenham are at Bournemouth on 4th of May and host Everton on the final day. City's game against Everton has been brought forward from 23 February as Guardiola's side played Chelsea the following day in the Carabao Cup final.
And LeBron James became the 5th player in NBA history to pass 32,000 points and fell to the biggest defeat of his career on the same night. Here's more on the story.
34-year-old James scored 18 points for the Los Angeles Lakers in the 136-94 defeat at the Indiana Pacers. He had not previously lost by more than 36 points in his 16-year career. James, who was rested for Saturday's defeat at Golden State, said he was on his way of being himself again after returning from a groin injury. The Lakers have now won 27 and lost 27 during the season and sit 10th in the Western Conference.
And that sports item ends our news bulletin for tonight. Thank you for watching. My name is Capitaltvtz and good night.